John, I think it's possible that a lot of people haven't quite yet fully absorbed from like a psychological level this war that's going on in Ukraine. How are you tonight, John?
I'm all right. I'm okay. Pretty shocking stuff.
Yeah.
Pretty
And
shocking.
I mean, we've got a lot of the usual suspects sort of shouting the usual things on the mainstream news. You and I are going to be doing a very important show tonight on our sponsor exclusive segment on subscribestar.com/I am John Cullen, patreon.com/I am John Cullen, and Subscribestar and Patreon/crowdsource the truth. These direct to viewer sponsor exclusive shows are super important because we're going to talk about some controversial stuff. And YouTube hates controversy, John. There's been some reports coming out, and I haven't seen the information that you have yet. I saw that there was some question as to whether these were corroborated or not, but we're talking about BSL level 4, biosafety level 4 labs in Ukraine, and you have located this photograph of certainly two of these people look Ukrainian. I'm surprised. This guy is probably from somewhere else. There's not a lot of black people in Ukraine.
No, I don't know that these people are in the Ukraine. These are just my
Ah,
favorite color. These are my favorite bubble suits. So
okay.
if you're
Yeah, this
going
is
to go
probably
with a
not
bubble
Ukraine.
suit, yeah, but I love the red and green combo with the little yellow stripe down on the sole of the green boot. To
Oh,
me,
yeah.
that's the best. That's the best looking balloon suit out there. So let Dr. Judy know that these are the ones I want to go with because these are just tip top. This is the tip
Hmm.
top stuff right here. This was during Ebola, and this is the
Ah,
team that was working on Ebola. But I really these are my favorite suits. These are the best ones. If you're going to wear a balloon suit, you might as well, you know, go all in. But we've got some fantastic content. I was able to find some documents that were sourced from the Ukraine, and we're going to take a look at those during the patron only
I
hour.
think it's
And
just
those,
Ukraine, no the, unless it's risk,
okay, all right.
I think.
So Ukraine with no the, like the band Beatles.
Well,
It's not the Beatles. It's Beatles, ladies and
but it's
gentlemen.
also not
Beatles.
the America. So I don't know. There's a whole thing going on there. But I'm pretty sure there's a very, very small, it says a few thousand black Ukrainians are believed to live in the country's major cities.
Yeah,
Not a
again,
lot.
that was from Ebola. That the balloon suit photos from Ebola. I just like the red suit with the green boots. I think that's a great look.
Yep. So, but we're going to talk
So,
about this allegation that there are these bio safety level 4 labs and that they're being attacked. Is that true? Do we know? Or are we going to
well,
discuss
I
that
don't know
here? Or
that
are
they're
we going
being
to?
attacked. No, we're not going to discuss that here. I don't know that they're being attacked. The question that we're going to examine, and I don't know the answer, right? So, first of all, this is not information, it's entertainment, and we're trying to figure out something. So, we don't know one way or the other what's the answer, but I found some evidence of stuff. And we're going to look at that evidence. And the evidence is related to biolabs in Ukraine and US funding of activities. Okay, so they're not necessarily US labs, they're Ukrainian labs, but there may be some funding from the US. And we're going to take a look at is there evidence of that? And we'll do that in our patron only show when we go to Subscribestar and Patreon. So
Mhm.
whether you're with Crowdsource the Truth or I am John Cohen on Patreon or Subscribestar, you'll be able to see this content.
We should also let people know, John, they can stay up to date with you on Rumble. So people look for I am John Cullen on Rumble. It's becoming a treacherous minefield on YouTube. So um, it's important that people stay subscribed to all these different channels because you never know when a video might get removed or something might get struck. So please join us on all these different channels. John, where should we begin? You want to go to the deck?
Yeah, let's start at the deck. Speaking of getting struck, a lot of
I wasn't
people
going to say it.
comment. Yeah, a lot of people comment about, why do you guys have to do this paywall thing? And it's because just doing the news, I was just reading the news, and I got a strike. Now, I did put in a bit of a commentary. I did levy my opinion about something, and my opinion was contrary to the sort of the common. I don't know. They have some definition
It's
of you can't go
verboten.
against. Yeah, yeah. So basically, you can't do that. And I did, and I expressed my opinion. So in this show, what we're going to do for the YouTube audience is we're going to focus on some stories that are in the news right now, some really exciting stories, some big stories. We go to Patreon only. We're going to examine this evidence that I was able to scratch up, again, because of the audience. The audience was sending me stuff on Twitter. I dug into it, and lo and behold, if somebody hands you a treasure map and points you to the cave,
You can find
it's hard to take. It's hard to take too much credit for finding the stuff in the cave. So I'll show you guys what I found, and it's pretty interesting. But we got a lot of stuff to get to before we go Patreon only. A lot of interesting
Well, it's also
stuff.
important
But I got a
for
strike.
people to
I
to know
can't publish. I can't publish on YouTube right now.
Right. But people can still
Because I
follow you,
read the news.
John, on Twitter. And if you aren't already following John, get on there and look for I_am_John Cullen. John is rocketing to 3,000 Twitter followers. So let's help him rebuild that Twitter presence. Lots of snarky and informative tweets from John on there.
Indeed. Well, some breaking stories too. And we're going to take
I forgot
a look
to
at
tweet
some...
to our show.
I tweeted out there.
Thank you.
But so yeah, I got a strike last week from YouTube after our Friday show. So the audience didn't hear about that. And I can't tell the YouTube audience about that because my YouTube channel can't publish. So the only way I can publish that is to tell people either on Patreon or Subscribestar, or tell people on Twitter. And that's the only way I can let people know that I can't publish right now again. So despite, now what was interesting is I was putting out this, this couldn't be news, this isn't the news, please tell me this isn't the news type stuff. And I was going every day, and I was trying to get into a rhythm of doing like a daily show, or 5 days a week or something. And after 3 shows, I got a strike.
Yeah, they don't like momentum.
They don't like rhythm. Yeah, they don't like the rhythm method. So let's go to the next slide in my deck, and I'll show you guys some content that was breaking news this week, except this isn't really news. Okay, so pretend if this was a pretend real news show. So if you pretend for a minute that this was really the news, this would be a breaking story. But this is not really a news show. This is an entertainment show, right? Because I've got the Congress Cares Bear, right? So this is how you know this is not a serious information thing. This I think Congress cares. See, this is my Congress Cares
He's
bear.
a little blurry, the bear.
Still blurry.
There we go. Now you got him.
It's a good looking bear. So this is the Congress Cares bear. And I still believe Congress cares, right? I still believe in my bear. But the news won't report what I'm about to share with you, which is that China just surpassed 5,000 people dead from COVID.
Huh.
Finally.
What do you think of that? What does that mean?
It means that there's now over 5,000 people dead from COVID in China.
Still an incredibly small number compared to other countries.
Now, how did the WHO not notice this? In other words, Tedros Ghebreyesus declared a global pandemic.
You mispronounced that.
I think that's exactly right, actually. Ghebreyesus Bananam. Tedros. Yes, I think that's right. I think it's right. You can look it up.
Pronounced Manamana.
Yeah. That other movie that's fantastic with the clicky clock guy. All right, but now we got 5,000 people dead in all of China because of an outbreak in Hong Kong. So 212 people have died in Hong Kong in the last 28 days. And there's nobody dying anywhere else in China but Hong Kong right now. And this took them over 5,000 deaths. Now, you would think that's a watershed moment. 5,000 people have died in China. Now, keep in mind, it's about half of Connecticut. Connecticut's got about twice that number.
10,000.
Right? Yeah, about that, give or take. All right. So this is breaking news. You saw this on my Twitter feed this week, but nobody's really going to cover that.
I'm not gonna do that. Let's stick with the deck.
All right. All right. Go to our next slide. Next slide. This is a big story right here. This is a huge story.
Oh, that's me with an ad.
I'm watching you and Charles walking around, and there's an advertisement on your video.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Why are they giving you ads? I'm not monetized. I don't get that.
That's why it's in the deck. I'm looking at this and I'm like, wait. First of all, it's a nice line of leather products. First of all, it's a very good looking line of products.
Shoes.
I like the way they blend the tone on the edge there. Really good looking product, and it's up to 70% off. So how bad could it be? But I'm fascinated that they're advertising on your videos. You're not monetized.
They tell me that these videos are not suitable for advertisers,
right?
So you cannot have any money.
You're considered questionable content, right? You're considered questionable content. You're not allowed to monetize it, but we got some shoes to sell.
Wow.
So I didn't know if you knew this and if the audience knew this.
No.
But your channel's not monetized. My channel's not monetized, and I don't think they run ads on my channel because my channel's a little too wacko. But the fact that they're running, shoes and stuff with you and Charles walking around New York, that's probably generating more, retail type income than all of the retail stores that you guys have walked past in the last 6 months. So I thought you'd get a kick out of that. Let's go to our next slide. This is another big story. This is a huge story. This story's huge, and it's just not getting the kind of coverage I think it deserves. Everybody's talking about how brave Leah Thomas is as a transgender and swimming, with the women against the women. And again, I'm just finding it fascinating. So similar to what they did at Saturday Night Live many years ago with Generalissimo Francisco Franco, and he's still dead. I really think we need to have a segment which is sort of like a Leah Thomas penis watch, and we want to just keep tabs, right? Is Leah Thomas
is it still attached?
Sporting the junk? Because the women on the team are saying, it's a little bit uncomfortable when we're in the shower because Leah still has her penis. She's not post-operative yet.
Question. John,
and she's not bisexual. She's a lesbian. So she's attracted to other women.
And much larger than the rest of them.
And still has the package.
Right.
And this isn't one story. I have 3 stories backing this up. So to me, it's just kind of fascinating, right? I'm the father of 3 daughters. None of them have penises.
6'2", 200-pound person.
Yeah, none of my daughters
attached to them.
Yeah, I'm just fascinated. None of my daughters have penises.
In the high school room with the daughter.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. She's a hell of a swimmer. So I've never met a woman with a penis. So
okay. This seriously though, on the transgender issue, why is it that one person on a team of many? We need to be sensitive to the transgender person's situation, but what about all these other biological females who feel intimidated, or perhaps what if there's a girl on that team who's been raped and being naked in a dressing room with a penis is traumatic?
These are all relevant, important questions that need to be taken into consideration. I don't think people have thought it through. What's interesting is in Thailand, it's considered a third sex. So there's men, women, and ladyboys. Yeah. Right. And ladyboys are considered a third sex over there. Like they're way ahead of the curve with this gender thing. So they just consider it a third sex. And it took me a while to get used to it too.
Prostitution thing in Thailand, they're dancing in clubs. It's not like just people are at high school thinking, I think I'll be a ladyboy. We're way off the track here right now, right?
Not all ladyboys are prostitutes, but there's a fair number of prostitutes that are ladyboys,
or dancing in
bars. It's a strange thing. It's a weird thing. As an American, when you go over there and you're first exposed to it, you're like, what the hell is this? But then when you live there for years and years, it's part of the culture. You just kind of get used to it, and you learn. You know,
when I told people I was going to visit you in Thailand, you just say you're going to Thailand. It was like, oh.
Yeah,
But we
I
didn't
know.
get
It's
into
pretty funny.
anything at all remotely
No.
prurient.
And I wasn't married to a Thai woman. I went there and got married, not to a Thai woman. So,
Right.
it's like, yeah, people think that's their bias. All right, our next slide is a slide from last week. We were talking about Kiev.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
I keep hearing people on the news this week referring to it as Keiv.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's the matter with you people? It's not
No, that's the
Kyiv.
proper pronunciation. It is.
It is Kyiv.
Yeah, Kiev. Yep.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's, any of these type of foreign language words where the alphabet is different and everything, you're dealing with a transliteration.
I never heard
and different
anybody call it
spellings and stuff. No,
Kyiv.
Kiev. I mean,
Get
my
the
wife,
hell out.
ex-wife.
Yeah? She called it
Yeah,
Kyiv?
Kiev. Absolutely.
Yeah,
And it's also Kyiv sometimes. So
all
this
right. Well, then
spelling
you know
is-
what? Whoever's saying Kyiv, it's ostentatious. It's like it's
the
like
correct
it's like
way.
when you order French food and you use a French accent to order your French
better.
food, and you're like, I will have how do you say the
if you're not speaking
you know.
French, then you sound stupid.
Right.
But if you can
Right,
speak
that's what I'm
French with a
saying.
French accent, that's good.
You sound like now if you're an American and you start ordering on the French menu and you use a French, you sound like a moron, right? And like Hillary does that. Hillary down south uses a southern accent and talks
Kamala
about hot
Harris.
sauce. Yeah, they all do this. So if people are calling it Kyiv because they're hip to get the hell out of here, you ostentatious bastards. All right, go to the next slide. Let's talk about Vladimir Putin and his huge CV. So this is from the World Economic Forum.
Did you know that he was from the law department? Does that mean he's got a law degree?
From Leningrad State University, went to state school. 1975, KGB, Foreign Intelligence Service, that's right. Advisor to Rector, Leningrad State University. We'll take a look at Rector.
Who is
it? It sounds similar to the anal swab factory, right? Wouldn't you make your anal swabs in the Rector, right?
Well, it sounds like that would be the name of the swab. The actual swab is the Rector.
So that's coming. You see what you have to look forward to on the patron only hour. We're going to get into rectors, and it's fabulous. So let's go to our next slide.
That could be an anal swab injury, a rector.
It could be. All right. We're going to be exploring the Biological Threat Reduction Program. This is from the U.S. Embassy in Ukraine. Oh, what a great source of spooky documents. So if you want to find spooky documents, the first place you go, U.S. Embassy in Ukraine, right? Because what do they do there?
Plan like
spooky stuff.
Donald Trump.
Spooky, yeah. Well, there's nothing good. They're not making pasta. They're not making lasagna. There's nothing good going on there. So I went to the website, and lo and behold, a lot of the links take us to the sources which are in the Ukraine, but the Ukrainian internet is shut down. So all these links were coming. So they're all coming up dead. All the links are coming up dead. Click on Lviv research. Oh, you can't. Oh, because you're not there. All right, so I click on the links. They all come up dead. So I went to archive. I went to the time machine, archive.org. And go ahead, see if you can get this up right now. It'd be awesome.
So here we've got, let's just look real quick. We've got the website there.
Okay, now see if you can find any of the laboratories, the bio labs.
Well, what's it under?
I don't know. I don't remember where the hell I found it.
You gotta call them and ask if you can get a visa. Actually, it's
get a tour. Tell them
they closed or moved it or something. But anyway, let's go back to the
net of it is
because we only got 5 minutes.
All right. So on the site the thing that's on my page, there were a whole bunch of fact sheets. So I go to pull up the fact sheets, and the internet is down in Ukraine. So I went to the archive, and the archive had crawled it and logged it. So we're going to take a look at all these fact sheets from the U.S. Embassy in Ukraine. So if anybody wants to fact check us tonight, watch it. All right. So everything is coming from the U.S. Embassy in Ukraine. That's the source. All right. So that's tonight's patron only hour. Real quick,
Here, wait.
the
I
CEO.
found it on the. So, but I mean, is this web
There you go.
page hosted somewhere in the U.S. or how are they having it on?
Good question. Scroll down on the right where it says fact sheets, and now those are laboratories. The pathogen asset. There you go. Internet's down. Go to pathogen asset control system.
Pathogen assets. Nice. It's a PDF.
Jason, come on. Where do you keep track of all your pathogens? You don't
But
have an
this is
asset management system?
state.gov. Why are they hosting it in Ukraine and not the U.S.?
Beats me, but you can't get to it right now. So using archive.org, I got these documents, and we're going to take a look at which laboratories are running this program. Go back a slide in the deck, this biological threat reduction program in the Ukraine connected to the U.S. Embassy. So all the documents I'll be sharing with the audience came from the U.S. Embassy in Ukraine, but you can't get to them right now because the internet's down. So I went to archive.org. That's where I got them. That's our source. Do I have 2 minutes to show the audience two more things real quick? Is real important. All right, let's jump down 2 slides. All right, so we mentioned Hong Kong. We talked about Hong Kong. The fact that Hong Kong is, they're changing all kinds of stuff. Let's go to the next slide there. Here's the big story. All right, so this broke this week. After our show last week, I dug in and did some math and looked at all of the people who died with COVID in the United States under 40 and all the people who are over 40. This is everybody in the USA that died with COVID.
Well, what are the two different ones?
So it's exactly the same pie chart. In one pie chart, I'm showing you the percentages, and the other pie chart, I'm showing you the actual numbers of people.
Wow.
So all right. So the number of people that died with COVID-19 under 40, 23,000, a little over 23,000 people. That represents 3% of the total deaths in the United States. Now, that's for everybody. Go to the next slide, and we're going to drill in real quick to Virginia. In Virginia, I looked at all the kids from birth to 17 and said, well, let's look at how many kids died in Virginia with COVID versus how many kids died from everything else, all other causes in this age group. 17 kids died with COVID-19. 1,800 kids died from everything else. So the COVID deaths in Virginia, the pediatric COVID deaths, 0 to 17, represent 1% of all the pediatric deaths in Virginia. And I continued to carry out this type of research over the course of the week. I post to Michigan, children from birth to 17. We have 19 kids that died with COVID, but 2,298 died with all kinds of stuff. So the COVID deaths in Michigan represent 1% of all the pediatric deaths.
What was the biggest one? I bet car accidents for kids.
Yeah, for kids, car accidents are huge. But actually, it's like this birth trauma. For a lot of the younger kids, this birth trauma thing is horrible. It's like there's more kids dying from birth trauma in the United States and in Cuba. It's like, what the hell is going on? Yeah, it's very weird. So I wanted the audience to see that we've got New Jersey, we've got Michigan, we've got New York. I've got New York. Yeah, so if you want to scroll down, you can take a look at New York. That's New Jersey. So again, in New Jersey, 12 children. It's 1%. Next slide. Yeah. And this is of deaths from all causes. So this is New York State and New York City combined. So this is the legacy from Andrew Cuomo going into Kathy Hochul, whatever her name is. And what you see here is 2,995 children have died in the course of 2 years. 53 of them died with COVID.
Wow. Even if the whole entire pool is 3,000, isn't 53 a statistically negligible number?
It's 2%. It's 2%. Yeah. That's why I put the little percentage thing there. So
got it.
People are like, well, how big a piece of the pie is it? 1%
and
to
then
2% in every state.
But everybody will inevitably say, oh, if your kid was one of those 53, it wouldn't be negligible. But we can't deal with a population-wide problem like that. And actually, John, we're out of time now. So I just want to make sure that people know they can catch the sponsor exclusive show by joining us right now on subscribestar.com/IamJohnCullen, patreon.com/IamJohnCullen, or Subscribestar, and Patreon/crowdsource the truth. Please join us. I'm really interested and excited to see these documents, because what you basically get in the mainstream news is somebody says, oh, there's biolabs and they got blown up. And then the mainstream news says, no, that is fake news on social media. It's been debunked. And you, as the viewer, are left thinking, well, I don't know what's true. So John's going to show us evidence from the U.S. State Department in Ukraine. Join us for that. We'll be back in just under 5 minutes. Thanks for watching, everybody.